Okay, so for this dough, I'm going to autolyse with the leaven for 20 minutes. So I'm first going to add 700 grams of water. It's nice warm water. Actually, it's nice warm water. Let me check the temperature. This is about 35 degrees. Now, the reason why I've made it nice and warm is because it's to compensate for the fact that it's colder outside. My kitchen isn't 26 degrees at the moment. It's probably more like 21 degrees. So I want the dough to stay warm as long as possible, just to get that fermentation going nicely. So of the 750 grams of water in the recipe, I'm only going to add 700 grams right now. The rest will be added later. Okay, that's 700 grams. And then to this, I'm going to add 200 grams of the leaven that we mixed last night. So this is the yeast component of your dough. That's the only yeast we're going to add, is your sourdough leaven. That is nice and ripe and air and bubbly and fresh. It doesn't even smell sour at this point in time. And it's not really liquidy either. It's quite gelatinous. Okay, so we're going to put 200 grams in here. Okay, so what I normally do, look at what's left in the bowl. There's definitely more than a tablespoon in there if I put in a spatula and bring it all together. I'm going to set this bowl aside, but what's left in this bowl I'm going to put into my jar to be my next sourdough starter that I will feed and whatever. So I've emptied this jar, I've cleaned it. That was the one I used last night, and later today I'll put these together and feed it. Okay, so my leaven's in my water. I'm going to mix it up nicely. It feels nice and warm. Put some, get the water a little bit oxygenated so that there are bubbles. Great. And now I add my flour. You can mix the two together just so that they are evenly incorporated. That's 1 kilo of flour. Going to go in. And now what I like to do is I mix all my dough by hand. I just like being in touch with the dough, but you can definitely use a spatula if you want to. But when you mix by hand, have wet hands. It just helps to manage the process, okay? But essentially, I mean, I'm just doing exactly what one would do with a spoon. I'm mixing and scrunching a bit, scraping around the sides of the bowl, and it's quite useful to have a little dough scraper. You can cut one of these out of an ice cream tub. It's flexible, so it scrapes around the bowl, keeps things clean. And you kind of go around and in, around and in. The lighting's not sure if you can see. It's a messy business, but it's fun. It's fun to feel the dough, to feel what the temperature is, and to feel how it changes at the different stages. Now, as soon as the leaven and the water hit the flour, the process of activating the enzymes and kind of fermentation starts. But in this first mix, my aim is not to really develop gluten or knead it or anything like that. The aim is to bring it together. And when one gets a bit more sophisticated and uses, you know, higher percentage whole grain and that kind of thing, you can extend this autolyse for a much longer period of time, and one generally does that without the leaven. But don't worry about that now. You can follow this recipe for the next few months until you're comfortable with that process before you start complicating things with. I really suggest that you try and use the same combination of flour, the one that you can get in your area. Pick it and stick with it, because the more you kind of keep your variables the same and don't play around with them, the more you can see which areas of your technique need to be. See, so I'm just kind of going like this and making sure everything is incorporated. My bowl is kind of, I'm trying to keep it quite clean on the sides. And I'm quite happy now that everything is there.